So we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to use Google Spreadsheets, or you could use Excel in order to solve our problems for inventory. And I just find it a little bit easier to use the spreadsheets only because there's a lot of data that I need to quickly calculate, and it's just quicker doing it this way than if you were to use pen and paper. But again, the option is up to you. So we're going to take a look at this question. It says, Urban Glam Cosmetics made purchases of lipstick in the current year as follows. So on January 1st, it bought 75 units from its supplier at 12. March 14th, it bought 250 for 13. And then July 30th, it bought 500 for $14 per lipstick. So just to remind you, when we buy product that we're going to sell, we put it into an inventory account first. And then once we make the sale, we take it out of inventory and then we move it on into our income statement under cost of goods sold. So then it tells us here that we sold 70 units on January 10th, 180 units on March 15th, and 450 units on October 5th. And it says that we use a perpetual inventory system. And what that means, it's real time. So every time we make a sale, it goes out of our inventory. So it's asking us to calculate ending inventory and cost of goods sold under two different methods. The first one that I'm going to go over is FIFO. And the reason why we have more than one method is because we have a problem when we buy from our suppliers at different prices. So when we sell the unit, so when we move it out of the inventory, I need to know how much I should apply per unit on my amounts that I sell. So that's really going to affect my ending inventory and the amount that I send over to cost of goods sold under these different methods. So let's just get right into the FIFO method. So I'm going to try and show you this the easiest way. It's still going to take a little bit of time. So what I normally do is first set up my cost of goods available for sale. So FIFO is actually the same under both a perpetual and a periodic inventory system. So I just like to add everything up all at once. So the costs that I have available are my purchases and my beginning inventory. So this January 1st, this March 14th, and this July 30th. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this down and paste it right here. So we have 825, and I'll just bold that, units. And I have 11150, and I'll just bold that. For the total cost in my inventory. So this is before we make our sales. And I'll just turn this line to one line instead of a double underline. So that's your first step. And maybe I'll write the steps out here. Step 1, find out your costs of goods available for sale. Okay. Now step 2 is we're going to record each sale, which ends up being the cost of goods sold. And we're going to remove the oldest units first from inventory. So that's what first in, first out means. That when we sell something, we're going to go and remove the oldest units first. So now I'm going to calculate my cost of goods sold. So it's a little bit difficult because we're trying to keep track of some stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead. These are my sales. I'm just going to move them off to the side here just so I don't have to keep going back. So on January 10th, I sold 70 units. So that means I sold 70 units of the January 1st that I have in inventory. So I'll go ahead and put this down. So January 10th, I sold 70 units, and I sold them. So they cost me 12. So I'm going to remove them from inventory at 12. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just put a subtraction here just to remind us that we're going to be moving this out of the inventory. So now if you say equals, take the 70 and then multiply that by the 12, that will say we're removing $840 from inventory. So I've got this one done. Now March 15th, I sell 180 units. So if I already sold 70 of the 75, that means the first 180 units are going to be from the January 1st. And I'll even put this down here just to remind myself. So this is units from January 1st, and then units from January 1st. So I'm going to move 5 units, and remember they cost me $12. And if you do equals minus 5 times 12, that gives me 60. So then I have 175 units left now, okay, of these 180 units. So then I'll go back into so this is still March 15th. So I'm going to be selling out of these ones, the March 14th purchases, because I've already sold all the January 1st ones. So then that's a remaining 175. So if I add up all of my March 15th, so if you just highlight both of them and you look at the sum bottom at the bottom, it says 180, which match up to my sales. That's perfect. So I'm going to do 180 units. And since it's from March 14th purchase, I'm going to do the 13. So I'm going to take 175 times 13. So that's 2275. And these are units from March 14th purchase. So I've recorded the January 10th ones. And look, they're all gone. If I actually add up the units from January 1st, that comes out to 900, which is that one. So then we sold 180. So I still have some of those units left over from March 14th. So we'll go into the next sale, October 5th. So October 5th, I'm going to sell 450 units. So I just want to check how many units I have left of my March 14th purchase. So you can just do some quick math here. If you just go equals, click on the 250 units, and we took away 175. That means I have 75 of those units left. So I'll just say minus 75 units. And these are the March 14th ones. So I'll just grab that purchase price and then multiply that. So 75 times 13, that gives me 975. So now I know that I've sold all the March 14th units. And we'll just do this again. If I add up all of the units that we said we sold from the March 14th purchase, that comes to 3250, which is that amount there. So there's none of the January 1st left, and there's none of the March 14th left. So that means the remaining units, so that's 450. So let's see here, 450, and I already removed 75 units. So I have 375 units left. So I'm going to remove 375 units from my July 30th purchase. So do 375 times 14, and these are units from July 30th purchase. So now, a quick way to check this over is to just add all these up. So I'm very old with my spreadsheet abilities. So when I add, I go equal sum bracket, and then I highlight everything that I want to add if it's all in order. Then I put an end bracket. So that's 700 units that I've removed from inventory because I sold them. So those need to match up. So that's good. That tells me that I can count. And now I'm going to add up the total that I've removed from inventory. So that's 9440. And this is known as your cost of goods sold. So now what I'm going to do is just figure out what I have left in my ending inventory. So this is step 3. Calculate ending inventory. So my ending inventory is going to be what you had available for sale minus what you sold. So I have 125 units left in my ending inventory. And I'm just going to double underline that. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to see my value. So if I take my cost of goods available for sale, so that's how many, that's the price of the lipstick, and then minus what we sold, so the cost that we moved over onto the income statement, then that leaves me with 1,750 in my ending inventory. So in this question, it asked me to determine the cost of my ending inventory under FIFO. So I'm going to grab that number. So I'm just going to say equals, and here it is, 1,750. And then it wants to know what my costs of goods sold are. So I'll say equals and then pick up the 9,400. But when you put it into the learning management system, make sure you just put it in as a positive number. So I'll just put a negative in front of there. Now the next part that they want us to do is calculate the gross profit under each method. So I know to calculate gross profit is you take your sales minus your cost of goods sold, and that will give me my gross profit. Or sometimes we call this gross margin. So my sales, they have to tell me what the sales price is. So I know I sold 700 units at, here it said we sold them each for 35 units. So this one works out nicely, but in some questions, we'll actually be selling our units at different prices. So just be careful on that. Okay, and I'll just want this to be a dollar amount. So I've got my sales. Now we can pick up our cost of goods sold. We already calculated that when we were in our inventory count. And now what you can do is just total these together. So 24,500 minus 9,400 equals 15,100. And that's our gross profit. And we can even take this one step further and figure out the gross profit percentage, which would be your gross profit divided by your sales. And that's expressed as a percentage. So let's go ahead and move this gross profit number up. So gross profit under FIFO is 15100.